Hello, it's Cryptolyze. I hope you are well this Monday, 13 November 2023. We're meeting today to talk about the OP token, the OP crypto. Many of you have asked me. So this is the crypto of optimism, and as usual, we will dissect it into two parts. A fundamental part, we will come back to what is OP, on its role in optimism, what differentiates it from the other L2 of Ethereum. And then we will go to the technical part to project short, medium, long-term on prices. Buying prices, selling prices, and it starts right away. As a reminder, you always have the possibility of having free access to the educational course, which is a 60-hour training worth €400, which allows you to learn blockchain, crypto, investment, analysis technique, trading, everything to become profitable. Through 130 videos, 400 pages of guides, quizzes to find out where you are in your progress, and all for free. To have access to this lifelong training, simply use the platform of one of our partners. Everything is explained in the comments and descriptions. What is optimism? So optimism is a blockchain which aims to be a layer 2 of Ethereum. The principle is always the same. It is to provide developers with building blocks to be able to build decentralized applications. So we keep that in mind because it goes a little further with optimism with their notion of OP stack, which we will see a little later in the video. However, what you need to understand is that it is a blockchain that is built around Ethereum. Even one could say on top of Ethereum. Hence this notion of layer 2. The principle being the following, is that I make and manage all transactions directly on my own blockchain. I group them into one big role, which I validate and which I will deposit with Ethereum. That's the principle. That's really the whole concept of what L2 is all about. So layer 2, in the form of roll-up optimism, is that. So to be a little more precise, they will work in the following way. They will use the notion of optimistic roll-up. What does that mean? This means that I will validate the transaction by default, and I will leave a delay of 7 days so that someone can tell me that the transaction is false. Clearly, this means I let everyone cheat, except that the finality of the transaction is only valid after 7 days if no one has reported a fraudulent transaction to me. So this system has an advantage, is that it allows us to design a layer 2 very quickly. That's why we have Optimism, which was released recently but quite quickly compared to other roll technologies. Layer 2, which could notably be anything based on ZK proof, therefore zero-knowledge proof. So obviously the optimism came out before, and it works rather well in the sense that we still have a transaction that is fast, which is stable, and above all, which allows Ethereum to scale. As a reminder, Ethereum has transaction fees that are relatively high, and all the layers 2 that are built on it make it possible to greatly reduce transaction fees. And this will be increased very significantly with the next update of Ethereum, which will allow scaling for layers 2 and therefore to decrease at least by 10, if not more. Fees for transacting on layers 2 of Ethereum to provide true scalability. Besides, Optimism has an advantage, which is that it is still relatively developed in terms of ecosystem. We already have almost more than 2 billion that are on-chain. We have next to 141 million transactions that have been carried out. We have big protocols like SNX, which are on it. We already have all the big ones that came to settle in, so classic Aave, etc. And above all, they have set up, from the OP mainnet, the OpStack, and the superchain. It's what? These are generally pieces of code that have been made available to developers to be able to build their own blockchain around what they have done on OP, in which Optimism will have its real role as a superchain to be able to maintain this ecosystem. So they actually developed something that allows you to build blockchains and be able to interface with all blockchains that are built around OP and at the same time use everything that OP develops. This is a big advantage. It's something that we find a lot, particularly at Polygon, at Atom. These are things that are very common. And as a large protocol which was built on the OP stack, we talks about Base, in particular Base being layer 2 of Coinbase, okay? So it's not nothing. And knowing that there is a good chance of seeing a new token released on the basis, this is not the case yet. There is no point in looking because it will necessarily only be scams for the moment. But there is also a good chance of seeing this every time we actually have another blockchain which builds on a stack of another. We will have a crypto which will appear to be able to facilitate the interconnections within this own blockchain. But alongside the interconnections outside, therefore in particular with all the other blockchains which are on the OP stack, we will use the OP And that's really the very principle of building optimism. So I think this is one of the two big Layer 2 narratives that we will have in this bull run that is being prepared. It will be one, the ZK knowledge, which is the progress, in fact, of the optimisms, which allows to have a big scalability. But currently we still have the optimisms which are very present and which are already well established, in which they already have a large ecosystem with incentives that have not yet been distributed. Besides, a little reminder that we are on optimism with quite little circulating supply, so that means that there are quite few tokens that are released. We only have 20% released. So that is there are 80% that need to be released the next release. We see that it's the big release, it's in 49 days, but next to it we have 330,000 OP who are being released every day currently, okay? So we obviously have a big dilution, which takes place with the OP, which is rather classic. And in any case, in all cases, the dilution that we see like that will disappear little by little when we enter Bullrun, in which we will in fact have a total absorption of this dilution to achieve additional valuation. So that means that we absolutely have to look at the diluted market cap, which is already $7 billion. So we are on something which is valued in the region of $1.314 billion, but diluted. So that means when all of the OPs are released, the representation of the price of the token in relation to the number of tokens is at 7.5 billion, which is still relatively significant in the bear market, therefore, which already positions it very quickly in the crypto tops, therefore. We will have to monitor, but at the same time, inevitably, we will have a propensity for evolution and acceleration. That is to say, which will be much less than other projects which are currently undervalued. So I speak quite regularly on the chain. In the presentation of the project, we will tackle the technical part, which will be quite summary and quite quick because we have a course which is relatively interesting, although short. So we have a first phase of acceleration which took place first, second, with here a big acceleration and above all a big establishment of resistance in the area around $3.2. For me here it is really a very, very strong and key level. And what is interesting to see is that we have not gone to chase the ELO. Okay, up until now we have not chased the liquidity which was at the bottom, and we are really in a bullish approach while we have the dilution of tokens. It is for show you to what extent OP remains in any case a token and a crypto which is relatively strong and which in fact suffers little downward pressure, despite precisely the breakout that we had in April 2023, and there we have makes a break of structure which is relatively interesting. For me at the OP level, I always keep my golden zone because for me it is a token which is in dilution. So that is to say that there will be a propensity to have at a given moment a low liquidity intake. And we are, anyway, in a token release, we only have 20% of market cap. So for me, at some point, we will seek liquidity. Are we going to look for them now? Are we going to pick them up before the bull run? After the bull run, it doesn't matter much. It is a token in which I am already exposed at purchase prices which are relatively low. I paid here and paid again here. I would have liked to reload some lower. If we go back, it will be very good. If we don't go back, it doesn't matter. I'm already exposed. Personally, I prefer to look for lower targets to actually maximize my yield. Quite simply, if we do a retest in relation to the level of the golden zone, just a retest of the 88th, we would be around 400%. If we look for a target, which would be much higher in the surroundings of $5, we would almost be in the 800 minus 900%, whereas if we are in this current approach, so if we buy the breakout now, we will only be at 165%. Here on a token which has 20% dilution, do I have a desire to buy? Can we perform? Of course we can perform. Is this the kind of performance I'm going to be looking for? No. I'm going to look for performances that are rather interesting. That is to say, in which I will have very attractive purchase prices. It's a shame that we didn't go here in June 2023 to look for this golden zone. I think there are possibilities to go and look if we ever have a form of delay in terms of cryptos before the implementation of the halving, and then, slightly after the implementation of the halving, we could have a delay to reload. But in all cases, we are in a process which is bullish. And if the bull run starts now, I can assure you that OP will be part big winners. Then where are we going to look? What will our target be? It's quite simple. You just have to look at the diluted market cap to set the equivalent of a Solana in full bull run the last cycle. Well, we are around 60-70 billion market cap, so we could very good to get a token here, OP in the area of $6, $7, $8, $9 quite easily with a bullish acceleration. Obviously for that, the roll-up optimist must not be crushed by the ATK roll-up in the next narrative. That's obvious, and OP must always continue to perform. continue to develop his OP stack, etc., etc. You know all the checks to be carried out at this time. I hope you like this video. If so, don't forget to leave me a like and a comment. It always makes me very happy, and above all, it supports the channel. And we'll see you tomorrow, 7 p.m. for the daily.